we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Gerald Glassford. Come right back at you here from Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, Game Source, and of course the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could share, subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live. Of course, with another great Pop Culture Cosmos, PCC Multiverse, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, State of Pro Wrestling, and more. Plus, again, if you are on Facebook, you can catch always the latest news at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, and of course, popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He is the madman and the evil manipulator of everything going on with the Happy Hoarder at happyhoardercollectibles.com. Please go ahead and check out all the great things that he's doing there today and all the great things that you can buy right now at happyhoardercollectibles.com. It is Josh Peterson. And Josh, great to have you here, my friend, on another fantastic Sunday with you talking pop culture.
It is good to be back here. I know we took a break last week, but we got a lot of things to talk about, and hopefully, more Deadpool news coming out here soon. I know they just wrapped filming on that one, so hopefully that'll be they'll give us a little taste of what we can expect from this long-awaited MCU film.
Absolutely. Great to see what's going on with that. In about a week's time, the Super Bowl big game will be here. So the first Deadpool 3 trailer will drop, as you are on your shirt, Mr. Chimichangas himself. Will you be available Sunday after the game for our annual Super Bowl look at the best ads and trailers from the big game?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I mean, yes. Let's make it happen. I'm curious, like, what other trailers are going to be showing during the Super Bowl, because we haven't really seen. There's not a lot of newsworthy things coming out in the movie realm lately. So I know we'll probably see a Deadpool trailer. I know they haven't started filming anything in the DCU, so I don't really know what else we could be anticipating here.
We'll find out, my friend, because usually they give you a kind of tease. Stay tuned to Sunday, the big game, February 11th. Please go ahead, check out the big release of the trailer or whatever. Big, we're starting to see a little bit on the food products and some of the ads that are out there that are going to be teased. They're being teased now for the big game as far as the big reveals for their advertisements. But yeah, for trailers, we have not seen that as of yet. So we'll see.
You know what's weird to me too is that video games never capitalize on the Super Bowl. Like, if it seems to me like that would be a good place to drop some like release trailers, like a Gears of War. Hey, like, Microsoft should be cashing in on using the Super Bowl to hype their games up, but they never do.
Well, it's the lack of confidence, even though, you think about it, these game releases, Power World, for instance, Power World that has garnered over 10 million in sales. You figure how much you're dropping, especially on the PC end, because it's free on Xbox Games Pass unless you buy the version of there. It's what, $30-$40 on as far as PC is concerned. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, it's $30 on Steam right now.
Okay,
And this is
so
only
that's
the game preview mode, so people are still buying it even though it's an incomplete product. I mean, so far I'm enjoying it, but yeah, it's crazy.
but that's the case. Okay, you do the math. If 10 million people buy it on PC, that's $300 million. You don't think, when you're talking about a $70 retail game, if it's one of the high profile ones that are expected to $300 million in its opening weekend, similar to what a blockbuster movie would do, you don't think it's worth the 2 to 3 to 4, whatever, how many million it takes for a 30-second to 1 minute spot to announce a game or showcase a game? I think it is. I agree
Oh,
with you.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because I mean, even like, you show the trailer during E3 or the Game Awards, or you're not garnering nearly as many viewers as you could get from the Super Bowl. So there's a lot of stuff that comes out during these like huge gaming events, and they don't get seen by people who could possibly want to play them. Like you're missing out on a possible consumer base. Whereas, you watch the Super Bowl and there's commercials for like soup and chili and stuff. And I feel like that would be an amazing place for video games.
Excellent, excellent thoughts indeed. If you have thoughts on it as well, if that would be a great idea, please let us know in the comments or popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But got a great show lining up for you here. We're going to be talking about Apple. And why are we going to be talking about Apple? You'll find out. We're going to be talking a lot about Apple here coming up in a bit. Facing the franchise. It's our first episode facing the franchise. And this week it's going to start off with Harry Potter. So we'll go ahead and touch on that here at the back end of the show. Plus, we've got some video game news and notes. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That came out late last week, and it's already seen its share of pushback. So we'll talk about that, Persona 3, and more coming up right here on the show, and a little bit of talk on the Grammys if we have time as well. But first, my friend, Argylle came out to theaters this past weekend, and unfortunately, Matthew Vaughn directed. Matthew Vaughn, if you're familiar with the Kingsman movies, X-Men from the early days, and unfortunately, it has been a bomb with only $18 million debut for a movie that cost reported $200 million to make. And while this will just probably go down in history for many as another one of the busts that have happened in recent times, I want to touch on something a little bit deeper, and that is Apple. And why do I want to say that as far as that's concerned? Because this is the third major release in a row, Josh, from Apple to underperform at the box office. They're dipping their toes in the water. They've dipped it over the past few years, 2, 3, 4 years. They did with the Irishman that they put on the Netflix, and then they dipped in with some other things. Not they did with the Irishman Netflix. Never mind. Sorry, wrong one. They dipped in with Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon. They did, as far as that's concerned, Killers of the Flower Moon. They also touched on with Napoleon, and now with Argylle. Those are three straight movies that they've done. They've invested close to $1 billion on those three movies. Close to it. Not quite, but close to it. And either whether they're dealing with Universal to help, push out the movie or whatnot, in this case, it's still a major investment, my friend. Three major failures, three major box office losers. That's even with a film that could garner Best Picture in Killers of the Flower Moon. That's still not a good sign for Apple.
Right. It's weird because I've heard good things about both Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon. I haven't heard anything about Argylle yet because it just came out, but it could be that people are enjoying those movies, but it's just not getting enough people into the theaters to watch them. Because again, these Apple Plus movies, they're gonna hit the streaming service in about 3 months. So why would you wait? Especially with like Napoleon, they're like, oh hey, go see it in theaters, but we're also going to be releasing the Ridley Scott director's cut on Apple Plus exclusively. So it doesn't really motivate people to go and contribute to those box office numbers because they're waiting for the longer extended cut to come out. But also this is a weird time to be releasing movies, right? Because the box office is kind of the Wild West right now because everyone's trying to figure out like what to make that will make people go to the movie theaters. But as we've discussed before, these streaming services kind of negate the need to go to the movie theaters because before you're like people are like, oh, I can't wait for that to come out on VHS or DVD because it went through like a 6 to 8 month cycle. But then you have but now people are like, oh, I'll wait. There's no need for me to pay money to go see it. I'll just wait.
But you say that, and Five Nights at Freddy's, and I think Peacock with Halloween Kills, they've found success with the streaming theatrical release hybrid. Talk about that.
Yeah, but they also have really strong cult followings, like those that Five Nights at Freddy's, especially. Like you
Now,
have
the
a bunch of
Exorcist
people
movie
who
bombed. That was something that they did that bombed. So
Yeah, right, right. But it's weird because you like Five Nights at Freddy's is a rare exception because it did have a huge following. It had a huge following of people who played the video games, people who hit the forum boards on the internet to like petition to get this movie made, and lo and behold, it was. And these people are standing behind it saying like, "Hey, I want more." This is like when Marvel first came out, right? You had all the nerds and Iron Man fans and comic book readers and everyone went out to support this film. It's the same thing happened with Five Nights at Freddy's. I think it's kind of a different case in that scenario.
well, the reason why I want to discuss this is because I and nobody's gonna cry spilt milk for Apple. I get that they're a trillion-dollar company or have been rated at one time, so no one's gonna really cry spilt milk over them. But for me, I think it's kind of sad because the fact that Apple could have been this or is this new force in entertainment. Apple is this new force in putting money into what they're trying to do as quality entertainment and film. And they, obviously the bean counters at Apple will only see this so far as okay, we've had Killers of the Flower Moon that underperformed, Napoleon that underperformed. Now, Argylle, that has way underperformed. And if that's the case, my friend, they're going to, at some point in time, no longer find that to be something they want to do. They have Apple TV Plus, sure, but and they'll still obviously make content for them. In fact, they just started shooting season 2 of Severance. But the thing is, my friend, the blockbuster movies that they've been producing, that will probably go away, and that will mean the high-end directors that you've seen with Ridley Scott, with Martin Scorsese, with Matthew Vaughn, it would it's just frustrating, my friend, because those guys who've said so much about the movie industry, they're given the opportunity to make films, and yet the audience doesn't come to see them.
Do you think the audience is just for movies is just different these days too? You think they're very I mean, and yes, the streaming services have contributed to this, but you think people are just picky about what they're watching these days and
Oh, I
how
think
much
they are.
time they're spending on entertainment?
I agree with I think they are. I think they're a lot pickier, a lot choosier about exactly what they want to see and how much they want to spend for it. I agree with you on that. Plus, with Netflix has become comfort food for 260 million people out there with that subscription. And because of that, they've basically set the tone for entertainment and how it's being distributed moving forward. You called it years ago as far as a tonal shift at how people watch and view entertainment. You called it before virtually anyone else out there. So I give you credit for that. But yeah, it's just for me, it's going to be a shame because I'll have to hear the Scorseses and the Matthew Vaughns and Ridley Scotts complain about not having platforms to make films to distribute in movie theaters. Then they're given the opportunity to make films to distribute in movie theaters, and not enough people go to support them.
Yeah, well, it's I don't know, it's kind of a put your money where your mouth is situation, and they just didn't couldn't pay the bill, I guess. But also it doesn't help that they're not making things based off of known properties, I guess.
Or
Like
popular
these
properties.
are
They're doing
popular
it.
properties. Yeah.
They're making $200 million artistic films. And well, in Argyle's case, it was still set in a style that resembles the Kingsman. But with the Kingsman, you saw declining returns from the sequel, and Matthew Vaughn has not made successful movies at a high dollar amount since the Kingsman to that level. So if that's the case, that I could see why Argyle was not deemed or very successful or not seen as very successful. It's got a C plus cinema score, so fans aren't exactly overjoyed by going to see it. But yeah, just very disappointing. The thing is, it's a shame if that's the case because Apple probably won't stay in much longer. I'm not going to say if they are or not, but it just seems like, okay, we can only have so many big budget money losers before we just finally say enough is enough. We're just going to focus on Apple TV Plus.
Or we could see it go in a different direction. We could see Apple be like, "Oh, maybe we don't have the know-how to do this," and they end up scooping up one of the other big studios.
Good point.
It's a very high possibility.
Rumors been, were rampant in 2023 in regards to Apple and, buying out Disney. There's Sony that's out there. You're right. They could go ahead and reach into the catalogs for one of those entities and start scooping that up. Who knows? Because it's again, we've been rated at $1 trillion company as far as value is concerned. So they do have the money, but them, they don't like to throw away money. They've how many peripherals in Apple's history have they just discarded to the side? It's almost as bad as Sony is concerned. And we'll talk about another peripheral here in a sec. But yeah, just to close out the Apple conversation on the movie end, I'm hoping that they will not lose faith, but uh, I just think that at some point in time, they will go ahead and maybe just deal with smaller scale operations moving forward.
Yeah, you have to remember too, like not every streaming not I mean, not that I'm like pro big conglomerate streaming services, but you have to remember too, like a lot of the other streaming services that no one produces 100% great quality all the time. There are gonna be there's a lot of things on Netflix that are absolutely horrible, but for every horrible thing there is on Netflix, there's no, there's 3 or 4 things that are decent and, garner enough views to justify the stuff that they lose money on. So I mean, it's just it could be growing pains. It also could be Apple just trying to get into a space they don't belong to. I guess, maybe the next 6 to 12 months we'll know for sure how that's going to be shaping up.
What are your thoughts out there on the movies produced by Apple in recent months in regards to Killers of the Flower Moon, also as well Napoleon and Argylle, which was produced in coordination with Apple and Universal, that came out to an $18 million domestically, and it looks like it's not going to be a moneymaker for Apple, unfortunately, because of the $200 million price tag. What are your thoughts on all these three costly mistakes, per se, but costly films even more? What are your thoughts? Is Apple going to stay in the major motion picture market? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friends, speaking of Apple, maybe you can watch Argyle here in a little bit, along with Napoleon, along with Killers of the Flower Moon, on your new Apple Vision Pro, the virtual reality headset that is coming this week to a lot of people out there. Really excited for it. I know the Apple Vision Pros have already been reviewed by a lot of people out there. Again, at a whopping $3,000 price tag, is it? I think what's the actual price of it? I'm going to look it up right now. I see 3502 in the Apple store for the 1 terabyte version. The 256 gigabyte version is less, of course. But your thoughts, my friend, from $34.99 by Apple Vision Pro at $34.99. So let's start with that one right there. That's the high end unit. Your thoughts, my friend, on Apple Vision and Apple Vision Pro?
Okay, so this was funny to me when I heard about this. What is it that they can pop for that price tag? What is it that they can
$3,500.
$3,500? What is it that they can possibly offer consumers that Sony and Meta and what is it, Oculus
Oculus.
or whoever, yeah, has already attempted to do and not quite succeeded at? What is it that they're going to be able to offer? Because I also heard that Disney has some sort of like virtual reality like floor, right? That you're able to walk on. It like rolls and
Mhm.
rotates according to whatever direction you're going. So, but I mean, and that's all hearsay right now because they haven't put a consumer tag on or anything like that. But what is it for $3,500? What exactly can these things do?
That's the base unit for $3,500. So right now. So it's it's something, all right, my friend. That's the 256 gigabyte version. If you're buying extended warranty because you don't worry about breaking it, you got to pay $500 for that. $500 for the extended warranty if you break that. My God. And people are buying it. People are checking it out. Because it says it has that little Apple thing in there. Mind you, they're not going to see the films produced by Apple, but they are probably going to still buy this. I don't think this will be as big a failure as some are as predicting on it. I think that just the support that Apple has in the device industry, as far as the phones are concerned, the iPhone and the sheer amount of success it has that, I think it gives an early chance to it. But you're right. What does it give more than what we're seeing with Oculus, with PlayStation VR 2, which has been a miserable failure? And what does it have with all these other VR headset that they don't have? I don't get it. I just don't get it either, my friend.
Right, right. So it's I mean, yeah, yeah. What are you gonna be able to be put into a world with you can talk to other people? We got a Ready Player One scenario going on here because that is a huge price tag, and I can't even imagine what's going to justify that. Also, you are right. I think out the gate there are going to be Apple collectors who have
Apple
money to
freaks. There are
blow
Apple freaks out there that just
on literally anything. But the difference between this and the phones is that the phones sell consistently because people are always in need of phones. I don't think that these goggles or whatever the headset is going to sell consistently because people don't just wake up one day and be like, "Oh, hey, I need a new VR headset." It's not that doesn't happen like that. So how are they going to how are they going to justify making this thing?
it's crazy, my friend. And I just don't get it personally. But you know what? If it is what it is, and it just I've seen the interface of it. I have seen some footage of it, and it doesn't wow me because it's just like you're operating an iPhone. It has the same interface, and with the apps right there in front of you. It doesn't do more than any other VR headset from what I can see out there. Maybe it looks a little sharper, a little crisper. The sound is a little more distinct. But other than that, my friend, it just doesn't do much more. It doesn't revolutionize the business for a business that, as I've told you over the years, my friend, is still in the way as far as scrambling. People, investors and companies have more faith in VR than the actual support of the public itself.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane to me. And I can't help but think that there might be a bigger plan in motion here for Apple. Like, are they trying to do like Facebook is doing the metaverse or whatever? Sony's obviously working on whatever they're doing. Is Apple trying to be the first one to tap into that fully immersive space? With like the walking board, the goggles, and the whatever other peripherals they're going to do. Are they going to be the first people to create a fully virtual 3D world? Is this just the beginning of something, or are they just dabbling in something much like with Apple TV Plus that they don't really belong in, but they're just trying to do it because they can?
I disagree with you on Apple TV Plus. Mind you, they haven't put their full 2 feet in on Apple TV Plus, because if they did, as we've talked about before on this show, they could just put it on everybody's phone, make it free, and instantly they would have hundreds of millions of people watching it. But I don't want to say they because they have a lot of great shows on Apple TV Plus as far as that's concerned. They've done okay there. They just don't have the population base, and like you said, they haven't. Looks like they have not committed fully to that platform as of yet.
No, yeah, no, and I'm not saying they don't make good things. I'm just saying it's a space you wouldn't think to look for them in.
Okay,
You wouldn't think to look for Apple in the TV world. You wouldn't think to look for Apple in the gaming space either. But like, lo and behold, they're just kind of
you've got
putting
Apple
their hands
Arcade.
in yeah, they're putting their hands in anything and everything. So is this just another one of those things? And if so, what's the end game here? Because I don't imagine they're just gonna put out these goggles and say, "Oh, that's it."
I hear you. I mean, they've got to go ahead and support it, or will they bail out? I hope they don't bail out it, because if they bail out on it, that is a major, major PR snafu with people sitting on $3,500 to $4,000 units. That is just going to say, "Hey, what happened? What's going on here?" You know what I mean? So I think that they are going to support it. What they're going to support it is, and how they're good, it's going to connect, or how it's going to revolutionize the VR industry. I have yet to see, but we'll find out. But yeah, there are people. There's people that have it already, that are reviewing it, that are saying decent things about it. But again, it's nothing that I've seen so far, Josh, that has revolutionized the VR industry.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I didn't even know that these things were a thing until yesterday. So I can't. But yeah, I got to do some more research on it. But I don't imagine these for that price tag being worth the money
It
for the
just seems,
consumer.
yeah, and it just seems like it's how should I say this? It just seems like you're navigating, or if you were like inside the world of your iPhone for me right now. So I could
Hmm.
be wrong on that, but from what I've seen, the footage and the way it moves, it just feels like you are just inside what it would be like if you were inside the framework of your iPhone. So, and I'm not sure that, to me, as someone as an Android user, is very appealing, but to the Apple heads out there, they're experiencing it this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, and even if I were like, oh, that'd be awesome, it's not. I'm not thinking to myself, oh, that'd be $3,500 awesome.
Yeah, I don't blame you a bit. But what are your thoughts out there on the Apple Vision Pro? Are you interested in spending the $3,500 to $4,000? Okay, I'll say this again: $3,500 for the base model to $4,000 for the high end model. Not to mention the $500 in Apple Care if you want to go ahead and protect it, because you got kids that are dropping it all over the place. You might want to you know pony up for the extra warranty there. What are your thoughts on that? Please let us know. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com, and make sure you go ahead and let us know your thoughts on it. Plus, also, as well, of course, the movies that came out so far this year, including Argylle, and also, as well, of course, Apple's place in the industry. Do you see them sticking with it, or do you see them bailing out sometime soon? We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. It is Josh Peterson along with me, Gerald Glassford. Before we get into the rest of the show, including a new segment that you are introducing today, and that's called Facing the Franchise, just want to give a little quick plug to what's going on at the Happy Hoarder.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we're getting to the point where we're back in business. So we're going to be doing a convention out here in February called Anime Sunica, and it's a anime convention with an Asian food festival, and it's got some sneakers there too. I guess it's kind of a sneaker festival too. So definitely
Oh,
come out if you're in the Texas area. If not, check out our website at www.happyhoardercollectibles.com.
there you go. Definitely check that out. Please go ahead and support Josh. It's been great seeing him trying to thrive in this sphere, in this verse. And then also, as well, are you doing any more auctions as far as it's concerned?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing some more after this convention. I just gotta make sure that, because with shipping delays and all that, I want to make sure I got product for the convention, and then I can, once I'm done with that, I'll be back on the old whatnots, and you can follow us there just at the Happy Hoarder store, and definitely tune in. We got some good deals, a lot of $1 Funko Pops, so that's a good place to
Ooh.
cruise for something new. Yeah.
There you go. $1 Funko Pops indeed. Please go ahead and check out the Happy Hoarder store at Whatnight. But my friend, it is more than just whatnot here on the show as we finish up the last half hour. Before we get into some video game fun, I want to mention the Grammys is being talked about. And again, if you want to check out the results of the Grammys, I'll post that on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook later today. We know a lot of it will be dominated by Taylor Swift, Beyonce, great artists indeed. But is there any other Grammy nominated artists or artists that you want to see bring home a Grammy for their hard work, my friend? Because I know you love alternatives as far as it's concerned. Usually, that seem to pique your interest in the music world.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really listen to a lot of mainstream stuff.
That's what I
I'm
said.
trying to get.
You are Mr. Alternative. Alternative.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to like go through this list right now. Hold on. You tell me about yours while I kind of scope this list out real
Well,
quick.
you know me. I'm still Mr. Old School. I love a lot of. I personally, I love a lot of instrumental music, a lot of electronic music. I'm, especially from the late '90s, early 2000s. That's still to me some of the most satisfying music I can still find. Love up tempo music. I don't know why, but I just seem to be enjoying some of that. But when you look at the Grammy nominations, my friend, it is a lot of based on pop music and success in the pop realm. But I do commend Grammys for going after certain categories for smaller artists or independent artists that they feel that they can go ahead and still connect with. But yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing right now as far as the record of the year, Worship by John Baptiste, Not Strong Enough by Boy Genius, Flowers, Miley Cyrus, What Was I Made For by Billie Eilish. Now that from Barbie, I thought that was a really good job by Billie Eilish. I think that would probably be my favorite right there. Vampire with Olivia Rodrigo. That's a solid song too. And Anti-Hero from Taylor Swift and On My Mama from Victoria Monet. So a lot of female representation, which is good to see. So I don't know. And Kill Bill. Let's not forget Kill Bill by SCA. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I mean, you gotta Taylor Swift is the favorite and everything, but Vampire or What Was I Made For seem to me the ones that I've connected to the most when I've heard them. Album of the year, World Music Radio from John Baptiste, the record for Boy Genius. It seems like you're seeing the same individuals and same groups in the same categories. Endless Summer Vacation from Miley Cyrus. Do you know that there's a tunnel under Ocean Boulevard from Lana Del Rey? The Age of Pleasure from Janelle Monáe and Guts from Olivia Rodrigo. Midnights from Taylor Swift and SOS from SCA. Again, if you do not bet here in Vegas on Taylor Swift as the favorite, you're just kidding yourself, my friend.
Oh, absolutely no doubt. I wouldn't be surprised if she breaks records tonight with how many, no pun intended, with how many awards she takes home. I am looking at this though, and it's cool to see both the Foo Fighters and Paramore on there getting nominated for some things. So I don't know. Hopefully something good comes with that. But yeah, most of the musicians here, I don't really like listen to that much. I know Metallica. Like I have listened to Metallica before and Paramore and who else was there? That Slipknot was nominated for something, but I mean, these are all bands I haven't listened to in a long time, man. So I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't really have a horse in this race, so to speak.
Yeah, and again, it's still something I think that if you do not bet on Taylor Swift, you're just kidding yourself. Again, I thought I enjoyed Vampire, and I enjoyed, of course, What Was I Made For? I thought they were nice ballads that were made out this year, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, and Dance the Night from Dua Lipa from the Barbie soundtrack. That I think was think it got a raw deal not getting an Oscar nomination, so I thought that was probably the best of the Barbie songs personally. But What Was I Made For was really solid as well. So yeah, if you're going ahead, maybe either Barbie songs or Taylor Swift, I think is going to dominate tonight at the Grammys. But again, if you want to see the list, go ahead and check out the Facebook for Pop Culture Cosmos, and you'll get that updated indeed. But
Yeah,
before we had it,
I
oh,
will say, I still have one more thing. I did
sure.
plug Zach Bryan during my best of pop culture, and he is up for best country album. So,
There you go.
uh, there you go.
Absolutely. Well, rooting for you on that one, my friend. Let's, if that's the case, because you can call it, you can pat yourself on the back, and so hopefully that will come through for tonight, for as far as the country portion of it, because Taylor Swift's not involved there, but she's involved seemingly everywhere else tonight at the Grammys. So I know she will not have most likely Travis Kelsey because he's busy preparing for a big game next week, but with all the Grammys she's going to be probably winning tonight, it'd be nice to have someone else help her, hold all those Grammys because you can only put so many in the arms, right, Josh? Just like it's like kind of awkward when you go ahead and walk through with
So
all
you need
those.
a wagon to take them all off the
Yeah,
stage. Yeah.
yeah, first world problems there. But once again, it is the Grammys that's coming up tonight. Go ahead and check it out, and then please, the list of winners will be displayed on Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook. But before we head on out and before we face the franchise, my friend, I just want to touch on some video game news as far as it's concerned. Persona 3 Reload has come out. It's come out also on Games Pass, and I think that the kind of reviews is getting very strong reviews. Although, again, if you ask me to go ahead and in sequence figure out the timeline of Persona, I would tell you I have that between that and the overarching plot of course, Fast and Furious, I just couldn't tell you. I just absolutely couldn't tell you. And I've watched all the Fast and Furious, but that between that and the Final Fantasies, Josh, they never go in the same sequence. So this is absolutely ridiculous. But Persona 3 Reload has come out to rave reviews, a 9 on IGN. It is now available on Games Pass, a big hit again for Xbox to get this essentially for whatever your membership price is on Games Pass.
Yeah, what's funny with the Persona games is I've always I always start them, but I never finish them because I know that they can be 60 plus hours long, longer if if you take the time to do all like the side quests and all that stuff. So yeah, it's not. I don't really I don't have a fondness for the Persona games as much as I do for Final Fantasy games. But
Yeah, but they,
every time they put out a new,
they followed the same sequence. I'm sorry to interrupt. My apologies. They followed the same
no, you're
thing.
fine.
Let's jump all over the place. We're now back to Persona
Oh,
3, but there was a
absolutely.
Persona 5,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, Final
We're gonna
Fantasy.
remix and remake this one, and then we'll do
14,
3.5 or whatever it is, and
yeah, 14,
yeah.
16, Final Fantasy, 17, 23, 5, 7 remake. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. I can't keep it straight. So, yeah, it's you see my problem with that, but Persona 3, it does
I
look pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, and they're all on Games Pass. I mean, so you can check them out at for free, but or the like you said, your membership price. But yeah, I mean, at some point, I would like to sit down and be like, oh, hey, I have time to play Persona, but I just don't, So one day, but people do consistently seem to enjoy these games, and it doesn't I forget what studio makes them, but yeah,
Oh,
they seem to
Atlas.
be doing some. Atlas, yeah, that's right, that's right. Yeah, and Atlas does make a lot of great RPGs. So I mean, they're definitely a staple of the Japanese RPG community.
Well, definitely we'll see what's going to go on as far as the success of that. I'm wishing for the same kind of success on Games Pass that Power World has received. So we'll find out what's going on there. Helldivers 2, don't let that go under the radar. That is coming out for systems this week as well. But the game I think I want to talk about is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which came out for regular audiences, available in pre-access if you bought the collector's edition or the more expensive edition, etc., etc. That came out last week, and late last week it was released to all audiences. It has come out to disappointing to scathing reviews, my friend. And this comes from the team at Rocksteady, who revolutionized the beat 'em up with the Batman Arkham series, which you first talked to me about upon one of our first video game conversations with Game Source. Your thoughts, my friend, on this? How disappointing is that when it concerns Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, another live service game with those type of ambitions? And I'm not sure right now if it's going to pan out.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was a weird property, I think, for them to adapt. Everyone's really excited because there are rumors floating around that they were doing a Superman game. So I was like, oh yeah, that could be really cool. The Batman games were amazing because they focused on one person and one universe. With Suicide Squad, there's just a lot going on, and from what I understand, too, the combat and the combat capabilities of a lot of the people you're playing as just don't they don't work. And with how many times this game has been delayed, we should have seen the writing on the wall that it was not going to be great, you know. And it's possible that, you know, like we talk about all the time with games, like 3 months from now, you know, it could be a great game, but it's just not. I don't know. It's just people had a lot of high hopes for it, and it just doesn't. I don't know if it's going to be. They're gonna look back and be like, "Oh, suicide." Because have you noticed that they keep putting all this like time and energy into Suicide Squad, really, literally anything, and none of it really pans out with a wide spectrum of people.
No, it doesn't. The well-received version that came out during the height of the coronavirus from James Gunn, that didn't do anything really at the box office, but it was such a huge hit for Warner Brothers because they essentially made it day and date streaming. Like you said, the hybrid that hasn't really worked out, but people watched it at home. It was critically successful, and that's what basically got him the job. James Gunn at DC was that movie, Suicide Squad. But you're right, commercially, it was not success. The previous Suicide Squad with David Ayers, I don't want to say it wasn't a success. It did eventually, I think, make money a small bit. I've seen reports where it has made a small bit of money, but obviously was not well received overall. It's been called a critical failure at various points. But yeah, I mean, we've called it a critical failure. We lambasted it on this show. So I will say that the Suicide Squad, I don't know. It's a very tough series to figure out and to see if people will support it. And obviously, we'll see the numbers at the end of the month to see if people bought into it. There was a lot of hype going into this game because of the track record Rocksteady has had, and it's just a shame to see that this is not their first foray into multiplayer gaming, but this is their first foray in a long time in multiplayer gaming, and it looks like they may not come back after a failure like this.
You know, I also think that these multi-character superhero games, they just don't work. Like look at like even Injustice started to like fall off the fall off the ledge
Avengers.
after a while. Avengers, what was it? Gotham Knights even. Like people want games with a singular focus, a singular character with a singular focus, because it's easier for them to latch on to that type of story and gameplay. But I feel like, especially with the Suicide Squad, it's too busy. You know, from what I've seen of the game, there's too much going on at any given moment.
And that's a shame that a lot of people are, because I know this is not exactly the cheapest game in the world. Again, we talked about how these games, when they're done well and when they're received well, can make 200 or 300 million dollars in a virtual weekend or in less than a week. But they do cost 200 or 300 million dollars to make. I'm assuming GTA 6 will even exceed that. But when it comes right down to it, this game, just the powerhouse behind it, I'm sure it was not made for cheap. And now Warner Brothers, who's the ultimate signing off on this entity, I think that they will go ahead and reevaluate how they perceive and how they create games going forward. There was rumors about a year or two ago that they might sell off their games division. This might re-up that thinking that they might do that at some point in time.
Well, they also just need to stick to properties and game types that people actually want. You know, like I would never sat in a chair one day and be like, oh man, I wish there was a Justice League video game. Like, no, absolutely not. You know, like and can you even imagine like a horror style game based on Constantine, or the open world Superman game would have been awesome, because it would have just allowed you to fly around, much like in Spider-Man, which just lets you go to places and play at your own pace. Like even another Batman game would have been great. I can't imagine what the thinking was behind, oh, Suicide Squad, because like you said, it was a critical success because it was day and date streaming on HBO Max. But imagine if it had not been on HBO Max. Imagine if it had just been in theaters. Would they have looked at Suicide Squad differently?
Well, it's right now they're chasing these studios. Like you hear the reports from PlayStation that they wanted, all their games or a majority of their games to go live service. They're chasing it, just like we saw a couple years ago when all these games were, these game studios were chasing battle royale games. Everybody had to have a battle royale game. Now it's like everybody has to have a live service game. They want that continual money flowing in. When it's done well and when it's supported well by the audience, it can be a huge moneymaker, those live service games. But for every one live service game that hits, there's seemingly now another 3, 4, or 5 that don't.
At what point are they just going to stop?
We'll see, my friend. Again, as the rise and price and cost of making games, continues to go ahead and climb, the less we may see of quality gaming going forward. But we'll see. But what are your thoughts out there on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which has the Suicide Squad going after the members of the Justice League? Unfortunately, has fallen upon some poor to scathing reviews to disappointing to reviews. And here we want to know your thoughts. Have you played the game? Have you bought the game? Please let us know your thoughts on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, we are here after 388 episodes. We're here to introduce something a little bit fresh, something a little bit new. We're facing the franchise. So you thought of this. You're the creator. You're the mastermind of this, my friend. Please explain to the audience your thoughts and ideals on facing the franchise.
So basically, I think since we've talked about all these different movies over the years, we've gone into details and in depth or in insightful reviews on all this stuff, but we never like take step back and look at it as a whole. We've talked about like Alien, Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter at
Marvel,
different points, Marvel, DC, things like that. But we've never like stepped back and looked at the bigger picture. We look at the single films and we kind of break them down. But now I think I've been wanting to talk to you about the franchises themselves. Like what was special about them? What doesn't work today? What's looking back at it, is it something that was it a moment in time for us and we just don't have the love for that stuff that we used to? Or even in the case of like Star Wars, like what where is this going?
exactly.
So I think the plan here is to kind of scope out a lot of the old franchises, whether it's video games or movies. We're going to take a look at a lot of this stuff and kind of go back in time, I guess, so to speak, and see what happened and where it could be going in the future.
Absolutely, my friend. So you started off with the topic, my friend. What is that topic for facing the franchise?
So I would like to take the next 3 episodes to kind of look at the Harry Potter films. As J.K. Rowling's obviously in the news all the time for one thing or another. We had The Cursed Child is still a huge hit on Broadway. There's still a lot going on, and obviously HBO or Max now, they just announced that the Harry Potter TV show is coming out, and there's a lot of rumor and speculation going on that the original actors are going to be returning for a Cursed Child trilogy made by Warner Brothers. And we've already been talking about Warner Brothers today, so I feel like it's appropriate to discuss this. So before we actually jump into the Harry Potter films themselves, I figure why not look at the semi-successful, semi-failure films in the Fantastic Beasts, because this all takes place in the same world. And so 2016 Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them comes out, and that follows Newt Scamander, and he's a magizoologist, so he basically takes care of magical creatures, and most muggles can't see them, but he's going on this grand adventure, and along the way, we get a glimpse of the whole Dumbledore versus shoot, what was his name? I'm having a brain fart now. Dumbledore versus
Voldemort?
No, oh, Grindelwald, sorry,
Grindelwald,
Dumbledore
okay.
versus Grindelwald, and their whole relationship and all that stuff, and how
Yes.
because Grindelwald stole he stole the wand, the Deathly Hallows wand.
Mhm.
We get glimpses of him at in the one of the final Harry Potter films. We kind of get a glimpse of that story as Voldemort's trying to get that wand that actually Dumbledore had the entire time. So I kind of want to look at this, right? We have three films. We have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore was the last one that was released in April of 2022, shortly after the pandemic. So let me ask you a question: Is when Harry Potter ended, obviously, like it was around the same time a lot of the other franchises out there ended based on the young adult novels, right? You had Hunger Games wrapped up, right? And you had the Maze Runner movies came to an end. You had what else? The for Divergent movies or whatever they
Yeah.
are. So naturally the next thing studios look at, especially if these films are popular or they make a lot of money, they think to themselves, how can we revisit this universe? And people are like, oh well, let's just reboot it. So they chose not to go that direction with Harry Potter, and I really appreciated that because and they also took a chance, like Star Wars, how we're always talking like they should just go to another timeline, do tell another story in that universe. In the Harry Potter world, they did go to another timeline, though the characters are still like there's bloodlines that feed into the Harry Potter movies with Newt Scamander being shoot, who's he related to? Oh, sorry, he's related. His grandson marries, Luna Lovegood, and there's all this other stuff that's tied into Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Anyways, they kind of did go to a new timeline. They showed what the Wizarding world was like in the 20s. So let me just ask you, what did you think of these movies? Like, were you in a hurry to go? Did you want to go back to the Wizarding world? And was this the scope that you had imagined?
Well, I'm not huge. I've seen the Harry Potter films, but I'm not big into them like the rest of my family. So the Fantastic Beasts was actually a nice change of pace for me as far as that, what I really got into. The first one I thought was good, and then just got some declining returns after that. The second one with obviously the start of the pushback from Johnny Depp and all that, that was a disappointment. I thought the third one wasn't bad, but that one was unfortunately a miserable failure, and I think Warner Brothers has ceased to stop doing Fantastic Beasts films after that failure of the third one. They've now transitioned into an upcoming Harry Potter TV series for Max and all that. That's what they're focusing on now. That's the future. Whether or not it's going to include an all new cast or have the old cast, we're going to wait and see what happens on there. But I still think Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I've always told you that it'd just be cool to see Harry Potter getting out of the minivan after soccer practice and going ahead and saving the universe. That would
Right.
still be the best thing ever. But um, I just think for me, the Fantastic Beasts was something I got more into, despite the second one being so terrible. I think it was something that I was more interested in than the Harry Potter series itself. But we'll talk about the Harry Potter series because I have seen it. But again, I think it was still ultimately misguided by Warner Brothers because I don't regards when did these movies come out? Came out, as far as the third one, second one came out during the events of coronavirus. So obviously they weren't going to get the kind of love I think that you really wanted them to give. But also as well, I just think people want Harry Potter. They don't want stuff around Harry Potter. They only have so much tolerance and time and support for stuff around Harry Potter, around the fringes or prequels or what have you. They want Harry Potter. So if Harry Potter TV series has the original Harry Potter or something in that realm, they're probably going to support it a lot more than what they did for the Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, but okay, so yeah, you're right. The Fantastic Beasts: Crimes of Grindelwald. I think we both agree that that movie was pretty bad, if I remember
The
correctly.
second one, yeah, that's the
Uh,
second one, right?
yeah,
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 that's
and the Secrets
terrible.
of Dumbledore. I think we agreed that it's just kind of like a meh. It was not
Yeah,
terrible, but it wasn't amazing.
yeah.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I enjoyed the first one, because
As did
it's
I.
much like Lord of the Rings. Yeah, and it's like with Lord of the Rings, like any excuse I get to travel back to Middle Earth is fine. It's the same thing with like Rings of Power, right? It's one of
But I
those.
think that novelty wore off because it didn't include Harry Potter and, Hermione and, you know, it just did not include the lovable main cast of characters that everybody came to grow up and love.
Well, it's weird because they were trying to make this story about Newt Scamander, but it was not holding itself up properly. So they're like, well, maybe if we also want to tell the story of Dumbledore and Grindelwald and like their famous battle. So maybe we just tie them together because they both happen kind of in the same timelines. And
But
and
it
that doesn't work. You can't call it Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and then not have it be about Fantastic Beasts anymore.
I just think also as well, the Newt Scamander character was just so low key, so shy, so reserved. He didn't stand out as a character that you want to be the face of a franchise, as we're to go ahead and put the pun in there on our series. But I just don't think he would have been I don't think he's a good face of the franchise because he's just so low key, so shy, so reserved as a hero that I don't think it just drew people out there that, as far as the charisma standpoint, as far as getting people back into the audience after seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I honestly I could say I feel like the poor box office returns on The Secrets of Dumbledore is due to the fact that there are 3 people associated with that movie that had a high amount of controversy at that time, right? We had J.K. Rowling because of her tweets. We had Ezra Miller because he punched
Ezra
that girl
Miller.
in Iceland or wherever. Yeah, and then we had Johnny Depp because of the whole Amber Heard thing going on. And I think that kind of killed the kind of killed the franchise a little bit,
Yeah.
at that point in time. I think for right now, like people are starting to get over a lot of that stuff, but um, you look at it now, like what's next, like where would they have gone? And it seems to me like do you think, okay, well, let me ask you this. Had all that stuff not happened, do you think that it would have done better in theaters, or do you think that the story itself just wasn't holding up very well?
I think they would have done a little bit better, but I don't think it would have done to the level that Warner Brothers would have been happy with, simply because I think, like you said, the story, the characters were not as endearing. It just the audiences did not gravitate after that second one floundered. The audiences have just not gravitated to the characters within the confines of that space. They're just not as appealing. They're just not as memorable. They're just not as fun and engaging as what people have seen over the years. I don't see anybody with a Newt Scamander doll or Newt Scamander, and you don't go to Universal Studios and find Fantastic Beast stuff. You go to Universal Studios and you find Harry Potter World. Universal Studios has just talked about a new, huge, expansive theme park that's going to come to Florida in
That's right.
2025.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't hear
awesome,
a
right?
Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
but I don't hear a Fantastic Beasts world. I hear a Harry Potter world, and that's the world they're buying into.
Yeah, and I think a big issue with the character of Newt Scamander is the fact that with Harry Potter, the kids like grew up with Harry Potter, right? Whether they grew up with moving alongside the movies, watching the characters grow, or with the books, like reading about these characters and growing up with them. These kids like grew up with them, and they're able to relate to them, right? Because they're kids, and they go through the different stages, and even adults are able to look back like, oh yeah, I remember being that young. With Secrets of Dumbledore, there's not really a lot of relatability to the characters, and I think that was a huge, that was one of the bigger issues with that. But do you, I do the theme park does look amazing. I don't know. They have that like cool little portal supposed to look like the Flu Network in Harry Potter. It's all green. It spins. I don't know. That sounds pretty rad to me. But okay. So let me. Obviously, there were 5 of these movies were announced, and they only made 3 of them. Do you think at some point they might revisit this, even just cramming the rest of the story into a 4th film just to get it over with? Because I mean, it looks kind of bad if you have one of your biggest franchises, well, the Harry Potter franchise, Wizarding World franchise, I guess, if you have one of your biggest franchises not be complete? Like, do you
I,
think that they should revisit it?
I don't know if I think they should close it out, but I think they'll probably do so within the confines of the Harry Potter TV series. And there you go.
Because they're different stories, though. They're different
But
I
you can
guess
do
different universes
flashbacks.
in a way.
You can do flashbacks, my friend. You can do
Yeah.
sidebar episodes.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, if you're going to move forward with the Cursed Child movies, I think you should finish this Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore, not Dumbledore, sorry, Fantastic Beasts, the last one more Fantastic Beasts film, wrap it up, show us that fight, end that whole thing, and then do Cursed Child and put a cap on the Harry Potter the movies, right? As they were as you move into this new realm of Harry Potter stuff with the television show.
Well, we'll see, my friend. Just a great discussion. And I kind of like this segment that you started off with facing a franchise. So great work, my friend. Great idea. And I look forward to more conversations each and every week on facing the franchise. Look, well done.
Yes. Next time we're gonna take a look at Sorcerer's Stone and
The early
Sorcerer's
days.
Stone, yeah, Chamber of Secrets and Prisoner of Azkaban. Those are our next 3 films.
Yes, we'll say definitely. If you have any thoughts on facing the franchises and franchises that you want us to cover, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode as always. We faced the franchise for the first time. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
No, not that I can think of. Again, I hope that we have some I don't know, things to talk about with the Deadpool film after the Super Bowl comes out next week.
Well, you and I, again, have a date right after the big game to talk about the best, as always. I love it. It's one of our favorite shows of the year. The best ads and the best trailers from the Super Bowl. And we'll cover that on next week's Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. But Josh, I have one last thing I want to tell you before we head on out. You know what else is coming up this week?
What?
Right behind me, Halo Season 2.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I got
Are
to
you
re-up my
excited?
Showtime subscription. Yeah.
Yeah, you're so excited. Great. Yeah. Way to let's see if they can go ahead and destroy the IP even more this time around. Yeah.
I know. Did you see that? Was it not Liv Schreiber? What's the Pablo Schreiber? Right, that's the guy's name.
Yes.
He had said that the story is about the Master Chief and John 117, but the game's not so much, right? We're kind of just getting the world of the Master Chief. The lore is cool, but I don't think anyone's like, oh man, I wonder what the Chief's world is like when he has his helmet off.
Helmet on. Series helmet off. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, but just my God. Season 1 was one of the worst TV series I've seen in quite some time. Will we see more cable car asteroids and other things in the realm of Halo that we didn't want? We'll see. Season 2, new showrunner. Could it be a new series to look into? Season 2 debuts this week on Showtime and Paramount Plus. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's a beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great